It's time to dad.
Hey everybody, welcome to Time to Dad, where we all sit around and talk about real life. Today we're diving into issues like keeping the spark alive in relationships when parenthood has drained, and how you're breaking or repeating patterns passed down from our dads. I'm sitting here with Will, Joe, and Jason. Thank y'all for joining us. So, how's everybody doing this week?
Doing all right.
Yeah. I guess we're all a little slow this week.
No, I was here. I was messing with my. I can't. I got no snare in my headphones, Dre. That was my problem. I was a little distracted there, but no, I'm here. I'm here. Just trying to get you guys a little louder in my ear. I like to hear you yelling and screaming. But I'm doing all right. It's good. It's good time to be selling Subarus. I'll say that. I'm happy with the clientele over there. I think to me, these are very practical cars. And when people have money and it's tight economy, they get very practical, and that just serves what I'm selling. I like that, but I don't know if that has anything to do with this episode. I just tooting my own little toot horn there. But guys, what's going on, Joe? I haven't talked to you in like podcast time, like 6 weeks or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a while. Things are good. I got rid of my Subaru, in the past. So, as you know, we went and got something different for what the wife wanted. And sometimes when what the wife wants, that helps keep the spark alive, JT, as you mentioned, right? So, so that's we're driving a truck right now, and it kind of worked out. We went away twice since then, and it was a lot easier to pack a bunch of kids' crap and all the suitcases and everything in the bed of the truck than it is trying to play Tetris in the back seat of the other cars. So it's came in handy. It's been useful, and we've had some good times just traveling a little bit. We got some time away with the whole family this past last week. There was 21 of us in a house, all hanging out every day for 6-7 days, and it was a blast. It was a blast. So I know some families don't like that, but our family is very close, and we had a great time. We had a great time, so it was a good time there, and now we're back in the action of rolling here and back in the week. But
so I got a question, guys. It's easy for us to get lost in the fray whenever we have our kids. I've heard many parents, whether they be dads or moms, they say their priority is their children. I've always had a certain hierarchy. Obviously, as a religious man, I always try and place God at the top of the hierarchy, then my spouse, and then my children. If mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. So it's important that we take time to remember our significant others, our spouses, because if our marriage, our relationships are healthy, that does tend to trickle down and cause a healthy family dynamic amongst your kids. So, what does love like? What does love look like now versus before kids?
definitely not as much as it was before. I think that's it. I think there's time. I mean, with us anyway, there's sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. I don't know. When things are going better at home, I think it happens a little bit more, right? We try to, as much as we can, if we finish this episode early enough, maybe there'll be a chance tonight, So
I said love, not the loving.
The loving. Well, that's part of the love. If there's no love, there's going to be no loving usually either. I mean, for us, I mean, thankfully, love is pretty good. I hope, we're both seem happy. I mean, we kind of follow a similar order to what you said there, JT. God, spouse, children, going that way, and that's kind of what we try to keep in, our family. Obviously, there's days when, like everybody goes through it, when you feel like you're out of love, right? And struggle with that type of stuff. And things are changing, but things are always going to be different, I think, for everybody when you have kids. But it's important to try to, have those times alone. And I don't know how much help everybody here has with their kids, or, babysitters, parents, people that are around to kind of help take that. I think the more help you have, the easier it becomes. We don't have, we have support system around, but we don't have like too much help that we lean on for the babysitting type stuff. I don't know. Will, what about you? Do you have like people around that kind of help with that?
Yeah. So we have my brother and sister-in-law that actually
Okay.
our support structure is very close.
That's cool.
Now they've got teenage kids, and their kids. One of their kids is already in the Navy. Another one of their kids is about to go into the military, and their last kid is finishing up her junior year or sophomore year, junior year, getting very close to graduating. So they're on their own times on their own schedule, doing their own thing. They're reaching the end of like the time consuming part of parenthood. So now they're moving back into their dating phases and going on dates and doing all that stuff more regularly and getting to do their own things and pursue their own passions. But to your point, it really comes down to prioritizing yourselves over your kids. But you got to have the support there, or you have to have the finances in order to make that support work. Whether that's daycare or babysitter or whatnot, and not everybody's got that. The thing for me that kind of I tried to achieve when we first got together was just like a decent foundation of just understanding each other. So if she looks tired or she looks strung out or just ready to call it a day, I'll step in, even no matter how tired I am, and do like a little thing, whether it's dishes or maybe I go put the kids to bed and I just tell her to go lay in bed and just relax. Just those little things I think help to keep each other close. But the other part about it that I think a lot of people miss, at least I missed it in my first marriage, and I try to do better in this one, is knowing that you're both going through inner turmoil. I think we covered in our last episode, we all have things that change about ourselves whenever you become a parent, whether that's your hobbies or, your mental state or things like that. You're both going through it. So, just as much as you're going, man, I can't go out and ride my mountain bike down a cliff. Your wife's doing the same thing. And my wife, a little while ago, she came to me and she was like, I don't know who I am. And that was a big blow. That kind of really took us back. And we were like, oh, wow. So I think a part of that is, when you want to try to reconnect and we want to try to help them understand how they are, you have to just go out and just go do something. And it doesn't have to be anything grand gesture. Just go walk in a park. Just go talk. My wife and I will go walk around our neighborhood. It's about a mile in total. And we'll just walk around and I'll just ask her, like, what are some things you're interested in? And she'll be like, I don't know. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, what did you used to be interested in? Can we go get you some of those things? And, so we start talking about like horseback riding and things like that. But when they don't feel like they know who they are, it's really tough for them to feel connected to you because they're dealing with their own shit. And, it's tough. So I would say at least like, a good foundation pre-relationship, if you have the opportunity, if you're one of those that got pregnant and then got married, that's tough and you have to build the foundation while having the kid. But, if you have the good foundation, you can kind of feel out how your wife's doing and you can, make those little subtle things, try to learn like what makes them happy, like my wife or me, again, like chores, little things, helping her just get through her day, makes her just infinitely happier with me. And then she's not yelling at me about, not doing stuff. And then also, again, not being emotionally distant. I had times my wife has called me out about being on my phone because when I get done with work, I'm sitting at a computer desk and all this other stuff, and I'm chasing everybody else's dreams and passions and things that we want to do for, making other people happy. I want to make myself happy. And so then I'll hop on my phone and she's like, hey, you've been on your phone for like 4 hours. Get the hell off. I need you to help me out. I'm like, all right, that's my cue. Yeah. But a lot of people will, they'll shut off that and they won't respond to it or they won't recognize that. And there's also subtle ones too. They won't necessarily be like, hey, get off your phone. They might be like, I have way too much going on. I have all this. That might be a cue to you to be like, okay, let me see what I can take off your plate. Those little things. So that's my take on it. In terms of the
Now,
spark.
let me ask you, Blake, because you said you learned some stuff from your first marriage. Now this is your second one. Do you feel like there was things in your first one that like you could have done that differently, and like so it's almost like you learned from it? It's like, hey, I gained experience from that, and now you're more like you see it more now, or is it because your wife now points it out more?
I think it's a bit of both. My wife's and I worked incredibly hard on my relationship now about communication and just being open and honest with each other. I told her at the beginning, I have thick skin. Just call it as it is. At the end of the day, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I'll get through it and it'll be fine. I think where I did things really terribly in the past was, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the term, but like, resentment or like invisible labor or like you own everything kind of thing. I resented my ex because I just felt like I was doing it all, and I felt like because I'd come home and cook the food, I'd do the dishes, I'd stay up with our kid when she had colic and was crying at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I'd go to a workout at 5. And, so I was just feeling that resentment towards her. Like, what are you doing? How are you helping support? And that is just not healthy. You can never look at a relationship and think tit for tat, or like, I do this, so you go do this. It's never that way. It's a partnership. It's a friendship. Beyond that, it's you both trying to make it through your day. And, whatever you got to do and help support that, that's going to be key, I think. And that was my biggest lesson learned from my previous was, don't resent and don't harbor like a checklist or like I've got 5 tally marks, you've got 4, go do your chore, that kinds of stuff. Like they're not your kid, and they're not your roommate, they're your wife. So, or your husband. So, I mean, it's one of those things like I don't know. You really kind of have to do the best you can to help support in whatever ways that is for them. That's my thing. But yeah, I don't know. That's my take on it. I don't know if Jason, you got any thoughts, and JT, if you've got little cues or tips that you do for how your situation is.
Yeah, I would say before kids, it was a little different because I was married, and now I'm not married anymore. But and I would say as far as the loving, that's actually there's been an uptick lately in that I'm not now that I'm not married. So that's actually positive for everybody. So there's hope for all kinds of dads out there.
It's positive for everybody.
Yeah.
Huh? We're all experiencing the positivity from you getting laid.
I don't know if I don't know, there's a mom podcast out there, but there's a lot of moms looking for some form of loving out there that have been abandoned. So I just do my charitable work, just have to say.
Man. You dog. Now, I had something to add to the whole invisible labor thing. I know a lot of guys, they do make efforts to try and help their spouse out, whether it be their wife or vice versa. The wife tries to help the husband out with something. And oftentimes, I'm sure y'all agree, being a husband and a father can often be a thankless job. A lot of things that don't go acknowledged. And, whether we want to admit it or not, sometimes that pat on the back, it just gives you the step, the pep in your step that you need to kind of get through the day. Because sometimes, we all feel beaten down. We all feel like we're burnt out. So whenever you do those things, if you're doing it for a thank you, if you're doing it for a pat on the back, reassess it, man. We all, if we prioritize our marriages, we all want to try and help lighten the load for our significant others. On occasion I can tell my wife's burnt out, there's dishes in the sink, I'll go in there and help them out. But I didn't specifically go in there and do it so that she can look back and say, oh, thank you for doing the dishes. We all live here, we all use those same dishes. So just make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. And that's not to imply that you are. But just being a man can be thankless. I mean, you go out and work every day. You may not get a pat on your back or the acknowledgement from your boss that you're doing a great job or whatever. Just continue to do small things for your spouse. Let them know that you're excited about getting to see them, that you're excited about building life together. Just remind them that like you said, a walk in the park, it can make all the difference.
And I was gonna say, kind of piggybacking off of that too. Like, it's also about letting them go out and do their own thing too, because sometimes they need that little breakaway, and that recharges the batteries. My wife now regularly, she'll go and have girls' days with the other wives that are in the local group for our school, and they'll go out to the bar and they'll just go have a good time, and they'll de-stress and get away from the kids, and I've got them, so that's fine. And it lets them also feel like you're prioritizing them over the kids, because it makes them feel like you are, or at least my wife anyway. I can't speak for every woman, but in that situation,
don't try that one, Bo.
Yeah, I'm not trying. I swear, girls, listening, not speaking for you. I'm just saying, my wife, she appreciates that, because then she gets that moment to de-stress and refocus. The other one that I will say is, if you did have a relationship before the kids, try to rekindle some of that. So if you did something that you wouldn't do right now because of a certain situation, bring that back. My wife and I, so we got motorcycles before we had kids. I had an R6. My wife had a Ninja 300. We sold those bikes because we got pregnant. And after that, I kind of went through like a mid-20s life crisis kind of moment. And I was like, I need something. But I also did it because, I know my wife likes to ride. And so I went out and got a Harley lowrider, and she loved it. Like, she had a blast on that bike, and it brought her back to, when we were dating, when we were first together, and it helped her remember like those good times and those beach trips we would do on the Cali coast, and she would just have a great time on it. And so just try to do something that brings her back to those earlier days, helps her remember those good times. Not saying that aren't good times now, but those memories are kind of there's the foundation of your relationship, and how you guys became a couple, and how you guys became someone that wanted to have kids. And if you didn't have that, well, then just try to build those memories, try to build those things, and do something like a grand gesture. Be like, I bought you a new car. As a good example, I look what I did for you. I sold my Subaru, and now you get yourself a car. Look at this. I did this for you, honey.
Well, quick question. We all, and a lot of times everybody, and you don't have to say whether you have or have not experienced it. Everybody, if they've been married for an extended amount of time, they've experienced a rut per se. A lot of, in my own experience, and I'm even guilty of it even now, is becoming complacent with your routine. Mm-hmm. It's easy to get in the everyday routine of things, and then not directly take things for granted, but it tends to happen. Do y'all set time aside to try and do stuff like that, just to remind them, hey, we're not just going through the motions. This isn't just like everyday breathing. We want to kind of mix it up a bit. And if y'all do, how do y'all make those adjustments with kids? I mean, having small kids, it is good to have a support system, to, say a babysitter or something like that. But if you're not able to do that as often, what do y'all suggest?
I can go real quick on that one, and then Joe, I think you're biting at the bit to get after it, so I'll let you go next. But
I might forget about it, but you're good.
So I would say that first is recognizing that you're in a rut. That's probably for me like the hardest part is you get into a routine, you get into emotion, and you don't even realize that you're drifting or that you're just set in your ways. So the first part is recognize it, and then the second part is just set a day, whatever day that is. It could be 6 months from now, it could be 3 weeks from now, it could be the next day. But set a day and plan it out, and don't let it fall apart. That's your whole goal. That is your day. And that one day could snap every bit of your rut out, and you could be like, oh man, we're in a great spot now. This was awesome. This was the greatest thing ever. Take them out and go paintballing on a day. I don't know. I love paintballing, so maybe that maybe my thing. But yeah,
Can
that's
you
fine.
picture your sister loving paintball or
Oh
airsoft?
God, no, she is not an outdoorsy person. What do you mean? All right, Joe, what do you got? What is your thing?
No, I mean, I agree with what you said there, and I was just going to add. I think it's important to kind of almost like having where you have a support system, maybe take care of your kids. It's having a group of men just like this, right? It's kind of like reminding us because when you are in that rut, you are just going through the cycle, and you're just getting through the day to get to the next day, and then get through that day to get to the next day, and you feel that. I mean, listen, that's what the rut is, but I think it's sometimes right? You break. I mean, even when we're sitting here talking, and I'm thinking, hey, when was the last time I did something for my wife? Hey, when was the last time I did this for her? And maybe it has been too long. So it's like a reminder, right? It's kind of like, right, if you had like a men's fellowship, right, and or sometimes, right, when we go to church and they're talking about, hey, what you should do as the husband or the father, and when was the last time? It's a reminder because we do forget, and you go, oh, I did that. I did that recently, and then you realize, crap, that was 5 months ago, right? Or that was before the second child, right? And you don't realize how fast time goes. So I think it's good sometimes to have just people around you, just like we are here, reminding, because I am sitting here going, crap, when was the last time we did that? And maybe we got to do something because, while we were just talking last night, my wife and I, and we were obviously, right, I said we were just away with the whole family. There was 21 of us in a house. And normally, if you asked my wife before we got married or years ago, or before we had kids, she would have never wanted to be in a house with my whole family. But now that we had kids and like she got to kind of almost like experience, it was like I was off from work. Like I completely shut my phone basically down for the week. We had support, like family around taking the kids, even like 5 minutes, like, hey, can you watch the kids so she, you can go shower if I was, things like that. And she was like, man, that would be great just to live with everybody. And like when she said that, I was like, are you serious? Like you would have never said that years ago. But just realizing even something like that has such a big impact, right? 5 minutes taking the kids so they could go just take the shower when she's home with them all day or something. Obviously I'm home to help take care of them, but, just out of nowhere, right? She doesn't have to plan when to take a shower. She can just go take it because somebody was watching the youngest one at that point. So having a group of people around to kind of remind us that sometimes we think we're doing good, but we could do better. Yeah.
Jason, you're quiet, man. I like your input. I mean, I'm not asking you to think about
inputting,
try getting her back, but I'm asking, like, if you knew what you knew now, how, what is there something you would have done different? I mean, yes. we're here to talk reflection.
Yes, I would have invested less in my 401k while I was married because that's what she can actually go after. So I would have done that. Besides that, so honestly, guys, obviously it's a sensitive topic. Whatever it is what it is. I think all everything that was said is a good point. Invisible labor. I feel that I have grown a lot because of it, and there are things I would have done totally different, and woulda, coulda, shouldas. But my thing throughout the process, and I think this kind of segues to maybe a different, like on the next topic here, but are there things that your dad, that you watched him do that you actually consciously try not to do or try to emulate? Is there ways that your dad made you feel proud of the way that they parented you? I mean, you talk about when you live in a big house. I know I've seen my dad interact with the grandkids and had that family dynamic, and I like seeing that. And then there's things that my dad did when I was a kid that I try to do the complete opposite, just because that's how we were, and that's how you kind of go forward in life, is to just improve upon whatever. But anybody got a topic or a thought on that? Like, how did you emulate your dad? Do you see yourself turning into your dad? Are there ways you're trying to avoid that?
So mind you, it's only been a really, relatively recent development that I've actually become close to my actual biological dad. I can't really, if there's one thing that that I can say is that I'm trying to do the opposite of is to I want to be present for my son. And now, granted, my dad went away. He spent some time in prison and everything like that, but a lot of that was caused by decisions that he made. So obviously, I do make a concerted effort to try and make decisions that will allow me to be around my family significantly longer, particularly my son. I love the idea of having a big family. I love the idea of, at some point in my 80s, having grandkids sitting around the table. I love that idea. So, obviously I don't want to just ghost my son. Now, as far as emulating somebody, while I didn't really meet him until I was already a grown man, didn't really have much of a male role model to emulate. But if I had somebody that I can say I look at like a role model, that would be my stepdad. Even now, the man takes excellent care of my mom. He has stepped up and helped me in situations where you would expect a dad to do. And I'm only a stepson. He didn't know me until I was well in my 30s. But there's a lot of behaviors like, man, I'm gonna tell y'all hear the whole saying, be slow to anger. That's the man that is the epitome of that. He's very well in control of his emotions. And me, I am not. I strive to be like that. Because the man is, in my opinion, a man that can control his emotions to that degree is probably one of the most dangerous men I'll ever meet. And I've got respect for him. So if there was somebody that I wanted to emulate, it'd be my stepdad. That man is just, he's stoic when he needs to be, but he's also fiercely protective and very loving to my mom.
You ever heard that country song, JT? My parents are still married, but I always remember hearing it being like, wow, that's a good lyric. But there's a country song about similar situation, kid who grew up with a stepdad that he admired, and it's him becoming a dad, and he says, I hope I can be half the dad that he didn't have to be,
Are you talking about old Brad?
Yeah, there it is, man. That's a good line though. Interesting thing that popped in my head when you were saying that. As far as dad to dad talk, which is what this is, right? This is like the dad talk podcast, but very interesting. I'm being coy with was there some experiences had for a short time there during the divorce? Yeah. But I am seeing one specific girl at this point that has a young son. And I will say, knowing, or experiencing someone else's child and then that dad and how they're distant from their kid or not, that's a whole different dynamic that we've never really touched on this show. But the stepdad angle, the absent father, how that affects a kid is such a big thing. Like, to be aware enough of yourself to be slow to anger means being, mentally and emotionally fluid. I think we have to grow as we get older, as we become better humans, better dads. So just try to not be set in your ways and allow yourself to grow and change and become more emotionally present of yourself. And maybe you will catch yourself when you start to get angry, when you start to get mad. Maybe mistakes that turn you into a distant father, won't be made the second time around, or however that breaks. I mean, everyone's situation is different. I certainly don't plan to be a distant father, but this particular woman and kid, that's what happened, you know, and that's what happened with JT. So I mean, you just have to be self-aware enough to learn and grow. You know what I mean?
You, Will. What about you, Joe? Y'all got anything to add?
Well, my dad went to jail and wasn't around, so don't have a lot to say on that front. Then when he got out of jail, never tried to talk to me, so I met him like once, and then he died. That was about it for him. So, piece of shit, and definitely lessons learned there for me. My stepdad, I guess for me, I'm just the person that breaks cycles. I don't like anything that I found negative and I was a kid. My stepdad was not a good person to me. He was very bad to my mom, treated her, you know, like shit in my opinion. And so I looked at all of his habits and went, I'm not going to be you. And since then he cleaned up his act. He got with another woman, and you know, he was a great dad for my younger brother. But you know, then I got to see the better side of him being a dad to my brother, and I got to see some good sides to that. But for the most part, all of my habits have stemmed from either just personal reflection and just realizing, okay, stepdad's acting like that, I'm not going to act like that to my kids. And then also just I don't know, how would I want to be treated if I was a kid? I look at my kids all the time and I go, if I were to raise my voice to them right now because they decided to throw a remote across the room and break it, is that going to would that teach me anything? Or would I just look at you and go, you're a dickhead, and move on with it? And so I look and kind of reflect on those things. So yeah, for me, it's an interesting situation because my stepdad was also not around for a lot of my life. He was there from when I was 5 until I was like 14. I mean, that's a decent time, but since then, like, he was gone. He ghosted, and I didn't see him again until I was like 25, 26 years old. And then I see him every once in a blue moon off in the distance kind of thing. So there was never really like a male figure for me to latch onto. So yeah, I think for me, I'm just basing it off of how would I want to be treated and how did he treat me for the little while he was there. And that's kind of how I base it. And, you know, I also I think that there's a bit of desire not to create a cycle. So, you know, a great example of that is, you know, like spankings and things like that. Like, do I want my kids to later on be able, to think that that's okay? Same thing. Like, do I want them to think that raising your voice creates the result you're looking for? You know, do I want my kids to think that respect and love is earned and that you should, you know, value your friends and know who your friends are and aim for those people? And that's what I aim for. And I just go, that's my goal, and I hope I'm achieving it. And you know, that's kind of what I aim. And I am one of those dads. I look at my kids every day, and I'm like, am I teaching you something bad right now? Like, is this bad? Probably shouldn't do that. But yeah, so that's me, man. It's tough.
I have 2 questions to kind of go with that, and that'll kind of go to Will and JT, I guess, in this situation, and then it might actually circle back to you there, Jason. I mean, so as having a stepdad, I guess the first question I have, Will, is, right, so you said your stepdad for your other siblings was better. So
for my younger brother, yeah.
For your younger brother. So what was the change in him, right? Because listen, there might be some stepdads here listening, right? And they're thinking to themselves, hey, what can I do better? Maybe they're looking to try to change themselves. What can they do better? So what did he do better to be a better stepfather to your younger brother than he was maybe to you?
They're probably listening to Time to Stepdad, which is our direct competitor.
That's our little brother company, right?
Yeah, it's a good question. It is. I think that my wife, she's a stepmom in our situation, and we talk through that quite often. And I think that the thing that he did, my stepdad did bad when I was growing up, that he did better with my younger brother. And my younger brother's 10 years younger than me, so a lot of time to grow in between there. But he was present. Okay. He also valued his time with him versus with me. You couldn't get away from me fast enough, and he did not care 2 shits about anything that I cared about at all, and never taught me didn't teach me to drive, didn't like to do sport, didn't like to watch me play sports. never cared about any of my activities, never did any of that stuff. He was just an absentee stepdad, which is, I mean, you get the same result from a dad. My dad was a shit dad because he wasn't there. It's the same thing here. And so with the younger brother, he was more available for him. He would talk to him. He would engage with him daily and ask him, like, he also bought into a lot of his hobbies. So my younger brother got into mechanic work. He got into computer building. He was into surfing at one point, snowboarding. And so he would help get him into those things so he could explore those hobbies, versus I had to buy my own shirts at 8 years old just so that way I had shirts to wear. Like that's the kind of stuff that I had to do. And I think that's what it was, is just he was there. He was in the moment, and he cared about him as a person. So if you're a stepdad out there listening, just treat them like they're your son, like they're your daughter, like they're your actual kid. And at the end of the day, yes, there's going to be some nuanced things that you have to be careful of. Like, how do you discipline? Do you discipline? Got to make sure that, you're not putting your significant other in a situation where now they have to go back to the, to the mom or the dad and explain why their butt's red, or, why they've got a bruise in their stomach or something like that. Like, you don't want to put your significant other, hopefully you're not hitting your kids like that anyway, but still, like, disciplining it's an interesting area that you have to be very cognitive of, but you can't be a pushover either. Because if you're a pushover, well, now it's just, all right, stepdad, stepmom, just go over there and sit in the corner. I'm gonna do this. Are you my dad? Are you my mom? That kinds of thing. So that's
and that kind of goes to my next question, I guess, right? And JT, maybe if you want to answer this one, right? As having a stepfather, right? And put yourself back in the role as a child. How do you want them to parent? Do you want them to parent like a real dad would have? Do you want them to kind of have a step back because they are a stepdad? Like, how would, like being a kid, if you could kind of go back and look at that, how would you look at that?
For Jimbo, my stepdad, even now he doesn't. I think that he actually treats me just as well as he does his own son. He'll correct me when I'm wrong. He'll chew my ass whenever I screw up. But he and I have gotten significantly closer, and I do believe that if assuming that I was back in those shoes where I was a child, I probably wouldn't. As a kid, I mean, I probably would have it at some point or another said, "Oh, you're not my dad. You don't get to tell me what to do." But time also changes a lot of things. Time adds perspective. There's a lot of things that my mom did that I completely shrugged off, and now that I'm looking back, I'm like, holy shit, I should listen. That could be a whole nother topic. It's like, holy shit. When my mom, whenever I was a kid, my mom was a hard ass. I'm gonna tell you, the only difference between her and a pit bull on PMS was lipstick. And now she's soft. And where it comes to my son, she's a different person. When and he screws
do
up.
You think she was tougher as a mom when you were young because your biological father wasn't around?
I'm certain that played a part in it. Yeah, I'm certain that played a part in it.
She felt like she maybe almost had to take both roles.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm certain that played a big role in it. But yeah, I because I was a bullheaded little shit, whenever I was growing up. I imagine that if he were to try and, at that point in time, if he were to have tried to fill those shoes whenever I was a kid, he and I would have butted heads. I probably, because like I said, I was an asshole. So I probably would have said, "Yeah, you're not my dad. You can't tell me what to do." But again, time, just it does things for the soul. I mean, it adds perspective, allows you to kind of look back and say, "Damn, I was a dumbass." And not much has changed from that. I mean, I'm still an asshole,
That's
still
true.
a dumbass at times. But it does add perspective. It does allow you to kind of look back and like, man, yeah, it things would have been different if I would have had my stepdad around whenever I was a kid.
Yeah,
for sure.
And the other thing I was going to say real quick just to that is also respect is earned. I caught my stepdad cheating, and then he later tells me, "Oh, don't cheat on girls," and I'm like, "What do you mean, don't cheat on girls? I literally caught you like in a photo with a stripper doing stuff," and I'm like, "And you're gonna do that?"
I have to disagree. Respect is not earned. It is given.
It is.
In the sense, no,
I disagree. Strippers need love too. You know what I'm saying?
But no. I believe even us, guys. I mean, we don't get to see each other every day. And I'm certain that but there is a standard of respect we automatically give somebody. The problem is that respect can be destroyed. It is fragile. So I think that would be a more appropriate statement. So he might have had your respect up until you saw him with stripper. I don't know.
I can't say that I agree. Like, I didn't like the guy from the very beginning, and I was just like, "Who's this dude walking in on my family and all this other stuff?" And I resented him from the very beginning. And once I saw the stripper situation, I was like, "Yep, you're gone." And I never looked back. At least not until I got older, and then I was like, "Look, dude, you were an asshole," and we kind of patched things up. But yeah, like, I think, as a young kid, and especially depending on the situation or what age you are when the step parent's walking into the situation, because that's also going to depend. Because if you're walking in and as a step parent and your stepchild is 18 or 17 years old, I mean, that's going to be tough. You're going to walk in and they may or may not respect you depending on how they were parented. They may or may not talk to you with sense of dignity depending on how they were parented. So you're walking into an unknown there. If they're 5 or 6 or 7, I mean, they're a little bit more moldable. They're a bit more malleable. You can kind of work with it and, start to help coach them and mentor them. They're still going to look at you like you're an ass. But at the end of the day, at least you know that walking in, and you can provide them with that sense of direction or that north-seeking arrow that they might one day look at and go, just like JT said, my stepdad I still look at in my 30s, and he's a symbol of that. That right there is the respect that's earned, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So I do agree with you, JT. At a certain point, at a certain age, you start giving respect inherently when you start talking to somebody, because you're not going to walk up to a person and just punch them in the face. You might, but I mean, it's not going to go very far in the conversation. But at the same time, you're also still looking to have them earn the rest of your respect. You're only giving them a little bit. You're not giving them much. Like, I have enough to at least have a conversation with you, and then we'll see how you respond and how you act as a person, and then you can earn the rest of it. That's at least my take. Jason, I don't know if you've been shaking your head. I don't know if you agree with all of that or agree with JT more than my statement on the respect earned thing. But
no, I was listening to music. Sorry. No,
oh, very well. Okay. He was listening to stripper music.
I what? Yeah. No, you know what? I think we can all say that it just takes work as a person to get better as a dad. It takes work as a person to accept what you can't change about other people. I think that's not going to change. Someone said it recently, then it hit me with parenting, and I read a piece of a book the other day too about, and you'll like this quote. I'm sure you've heard this, JT, but Jesus finds you where you are. I mean, God, you want to find your kids where they are emotionally. And I'm not going to talk to, I like the 5 years old versus 15, 16, but yeah, like, I'm not approaching a 5-year-old stepchild the same way I'm approaching a 15-year-old step. If I'm smart, if you care about them at all, like, you gotta kind of see what's going on in their head before you think about your own reactions. And there was and I'll wrap up with this because this has helped me. I think this would help a lot of dads, but there's if anybody ever does any like biology, brain science studies with kids, there's a book out there. It's called like the whole brain child, and basically the idea is you got left and right brain, and kids are going to develop the right side of their brain first, and the left side of your brain is very logical. The left side of the brain is the way that you're going to talk to the dads on this podcast, or you're going to try to ask your kid why they did something that you didn't want them to do. But the right side of the brain is extremely emotional and going to have a tantrum and gonna be very useful when you need it, but also not so much when you're not using the logic side. So kids aren't going to develop that logical side for a long time. So when they're screaming, when they're freaking out, try to meet them where they are and get to a point where they're not screaming and crying and freaking out. Because if you just go at that situation as, why did you do that? I told you not to do that. You're in your left brain. You got to get out of your. It's not even getting out of your head. You got to get out of your left brain and deal with the kid where they are emotionally. So that's something that's been good for me recently with my kids. I hope that's helpful to you guys. Challenges of the week, real quick. Reflect on one thing your dad did well and one thing you're doing differently. Write it down. Share it with your kid. That's actually interesting. Obviously, JT will take that as you will. I mean, I think everybody's situation is different, but there is you can learn and grow as a person and as a father by being present and telling your kids something like that, and just trying to relate to them like a person, not like a dad or a stepdad or a kid or anything. Just talk to people like they're people. You know what I'm saying? Any final thoughts, you guys?
Listen, we don't have to be perfect, right? We just gotta make sure we're trying to be better every day, as a parent, as a partner, and we hope that they see that, whether they see it now when they're kids or if they see it in 30 years. I mean, I know for myself, I didn't realize some of the sacrifices and stuff that my dad did when I was a kid that maybe I did resent him for as a young child or something like that. But now I go, wow, now it's something I respect. Right. And, so it's just, trying to do our best every day. And we hope that our kids we're raising them up to be good sons, daughters, and that they'll respect us and love us when they're older as well. And hopefully still want to hang out with us, I guess, when we're old and boring and stuff, so, but just keep showing up. That's the best we can do.
Best ability is availability. I heard that.
There's something I read that this kind of refers to your breaking the cycle. It's actually a pretty good thing. The way we love our partners and our kids can rewrite family.
Mm-hmm.
It seems simple, but if much like your situation, Will, I can relate that to my own. That can entirely break the entire cycle that that maybe we thought might have destroyed our families as we were kids. So I think that's a pretty good little good tidbit.
Yeah. And I'd say the last thing for me, at least, is relationships are hard. Being a parent is hard. But as long as you keep working at it, it eventually doesn't get easier, but you at least get used to it. So just keep working, keep trying, and keep fighting. Never stop.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, dads, we appreciate you guys always being here. We hope you took something from this episode and you strive to be a better parent, partner, in your everyday life. And, hopefully go out there, maybe surprise your kids or your spouse with something special this week as well, or this month coming up. But thanks for being with us. Like, subscribe, follow us, invite some people to our Facebook chat and Facebook group to, keep growing. There's a lot of dads out there that need help, and that's what we're here for. So thanks for being with us, and we'll see you guys next week on Time to Dad. Take care.
Sure.